We are going to go ahead and get started. And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first UIC and UIS Business and Finance meeting for the 22-23 academic year. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ginger Velazquez, and I'm the Executive Director for Business and Finance in the Office of Business Services. And over the last year, you were used to seeing Bill Patterson facilitate these meetings. And Bill has since delegated that role to me. And I've served in the university system for about 25 years now, and I've worked with some of you, and I'm looking forward to working more directly with this group. For today, Jennifer Erickson is going to take over the meeting facilitation for me as I need to sign off by about 1:30. And for those of you who may not know Jennifer, she is our Senior Associate Director for Business and Finance. And she's been at the university for about 15 years. And Jennifer, I can't tell on my screen if you're on video right now or not, but if you want to wave and say hi. Hi, Jason, I see you. Okay, so before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. You have all been placed on mute, so please type any questions you may have into the chat, and keep in mind those questions go to everyone. We have a team that's reviewing the questions as they come in, and we will try to get to them all, but if time constrains us, we will be sure to review any unanswered questions after the meeting ends, and we will follow up on those as well. Also, I believe, Stacy, you already started the recording. So just a reminder that we will again be recording our meetings, and we will email each of you a link to the recording. So if you have additional questions that come up afterwards and need to review a segment of the meeting, or if you need presenter contact information, you will have all of that as well. And finally, always feel free to reach out to me and my staff whenever you have questions or comments or suggestions. Bernadette Rossmore and Stacy Balmas are here again this year to serve you and assist in helping resolve any issues you may have as well. And you will find our contact information on the last slide of the presentation, so you can reference that at any time if you need to. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a very packed agenda today. It's going to be important that each presentation stay within the time allotted. And so without further ado, we are going to jump right into the presentations. The first presenter we will hear from today is Aaron Carter. Aaron is the Assistant Vice President of Procurement Services. And today, Aaron will provide the group with an update from the Office of Procurement Services. So Aaron, please take it away.
Hey, thank you, Ginger. And I will try to give you a couple minutes back on the full agenda today. Ginger mentioned newly appointed Assistant Vice President of Procurement Services. I have a number of units within our group. University Payables, Office of Procurement Diversity, Illinois Public Higher Education Cooperative, and System Purchasing and Support. So a number of areas that likely impact your departments in one way or another. Some things we're working on right off the bat. Obviously, many of you impacted with the implementation and continued changes with Chrome River. The things we're doing and proactively trying to increase usage in iBuy. And then hopefully the big positive, our return to Amazon and our very soon rollout of the ability to request access to those purchases. So look forward to working with each of you. I know there are no shortage of pain points, but I think we provide a lot of value when we continue to do that for the group. And I'm just grateful for the time to say hello this afternoon. So happy to take any questions. If not, a lot of members of my team will be presenting at various points in the meeting today. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Aaron. Up next, we will hear from Magdalena Ya from UAFR with updates regarding the 2023 biennial inventory cycles. Magdalena, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Magdalena Ya. I'm the Senior Surplus Coordinator in Property Accounting, and I'm here today to remind everyone that the biennial inventory cycles for Chicago and Springfield have already started. And here's our slide. The Chicago biennial inventory started July 1st, and all units must be certified by March 31st of 2023. Chicago is no longer divided between West and East Side. So all units, no matter which side you're on, have to be certified by March 31st of 2023. If you're a Springfield unit, the cycle has opened September 1st, and your certification is due on May 31st of 2023. The cycles were closed for Chicago on June 30th, 2023, and for Springfield on August 31st of 2023. By the cycle close date, or the completion date as we call it, all units should have their pending items resolved, and their biennial inventory status should reflect as completed. On our next slide, we have listed the resources and training available to help units assist with the process and timely completion for the biennial inventory. We are offering an online instructor-led courses for the physical inventory of equipment. The course is offered every 2 months, and you can see those dates here. You can also visit our website for more information on policy for completing a biennial inventory, as well as job aids that are available to units on how to use biennial inventory system. Those resources are available 24/7. And as always, units can reach out to myself or Juana Rodriguez for any questions or any help with biennial inventory at any time, and our information will be provided on our next slide. Now, that's all the announcements that I had for today. And the next presenter for our office will be Jeff Weaver. Thank you.
Magdalena, we do just have one quick question. Does the entire UIC campus now have to do this every year? And if so, why was this policy changed?
So the entire University of Chicago will be still doing it every other year. We just moved all the departments, the East and West sides, to be doing it during the uneven years. So all of our universities have been moved over to an uneven year. That was done to relieve a little bit of pressure from just recently completing biennial inventory that was extended due to COVID. So we kind of gave every department a break, and we have been allowed to, going forward, proceed with biennial inventory certification and completion during uneven years. Hopefully that clarifies things.
Thank you.
And thank you, Magdalena. And Jeff, your update on equipment management is next. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer, and thanks to Ginger and Bernadette for all your help with the meetings and getting us on the agenda. Happy to be here today. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jeff Weaver. I'm a senior director over property accounting. For those who might be new here this year, and welcome, happy new year to the academic year and fiscal year. For those who are new, my primary responsibilities are over equipment. Our office oversees the reporting and all the centralized reporting of equipment, and certainly work with all of you folks in the units, trying to assist you in the management of those assets, as is your custodial responsibility throughout the year. So I'm here today, besides sharing information about myself, happy to be here today to share some great news in advance about some upcoming certificate programs we're implementing relative to unit equipment management roles. And Jason, if you can forward the slide there. Maybe before I begin, I think we recognize that the duties and the responsibilities of the unit rep is a critical function for equipment management at the university. And so our office has worked over the last couple years working with systems offices, the Office of Systems and Support, who provides the instructional designers and the run the methodology to create these certificate programs. So over the last 2 years, we've worked with that office to develop these certificate programs. I just wanted to share part of that process is that systems office support does reach out, and they met and we met with many units on each campus, as well as had some focus groups about the content of these courses, how they would work, and what their intent is. So just wanted to give a shout out to that and share a little bit about the process, right? But why do we have these here? The certificate program's really created to provide a consistent foundation of knowledge to help the folks doing these roles understand what their roles and responsibilities are. We hope this really enhances the awareness and stresses the importance of those key duties and responsibilities as it relates to the internal control environment at the university. And just wanted to also thank all the departments who provided feedback during that development, as well as we have a whole round of people testing the course in its final product as we speak. So we're here in advance just sharing a little bit about that. But Jason, you can probably proceed to the next slide. And so what roles are we going to require certification for? Well, really two: the FabWeb unit rep, which is that certificate program is going to roll out in the next month. That course will be 100% online. We do highly encourage the unit reps to take the Introduction to Banner and Finance 1 course as a prerequisite. It's not required, but it is encouraged. One thing we recognize is we have a lot of different roles within the university completing and are doing this unit rep function, anywhere from a key business manager to a facilities manager to a business office staffer. So, we do want you guys in the units, when you assign these roles, if that's a facility manager or a lower level business office person, would encourage those folks to take that Banner and Finance course. So again, this unit rep course will be a requirement, and it will require an assessment. The go live date for this is October 6th. So as a piece of best practice and advice, we're going to provide this 3 or 4 month window to allow current unit reps to take the certification course and pass the course without losing your access. But you will have to do that by February 1st, 2023 if you're in that role. If you do not complete the certificate program and pass the course by that date, your access will lap and your privileges will go away, and you'll have to go through your USC to request those roles again. So very important. And all that will be explained as we send out OBFS News Center information about this in the weeks ahead when this program does roll out. So Jason, you can probably hit that next slide again. After we do this unit rep for FabWeb, we will have a course for the biennial inventory unit contact. We're working on that now through that same process with systems office and support. The go live for that will be after all the 2023 biennials are completed. We didn't want to, we wanted to be fair and make sure some units didn't take that mid cycle when others didn't have to. So that course will roll out for the unit contacts after the current 2023 biennial cycles are completed. So I just wanted to share that. And that's really all the information I have, but I did also just wanted to share a comment. Jason, if you want to hit that next slide, it should be our contact information. If anybody has questions, I will wait, see if there's anything in chat. But maybe while we're doing that, I will just share, the external auditors are heavy in the university right now. They're trying to do their interim work, trying to start their ending field work. We also have 3 audit teams out here, right? There's the single audit, the federal audit has audit teams, the state compliance audit has audit teams, the financial statement audit has a different audit team. So our office is here to help you with any, and your unit with any questions you have about your audit. So if you have auditors, you're unsure how to reply to them, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to field any questions and provide additional assistance to your unit. Thanks.
Jeff, thank you. Already lots of good information and lots to absorb. Next up, we will again hear from Jason Bain regarding My UI Financials.
Oh, Jennifer, if I can just jump in, we do have a few questions in the chat.
Okay,
So was your office going to notify all current unit reps for the certification needed?
Yes, information will be going out through OBFS News Center, and that'll be forwarded to all people currently holding that role. So they're aware of that. Yep.
And will the security application check completion of the course for USC to be able to add a unit rep to the profile?
Yes, it will. That'd be part of the process is, yep, you can't shortcut it. You will have to have taken that course and completed it in order for that USC to request that permission to that role.
Okay, and then finally, a question was, is this required?
Yes, it's required. You'll have to go through it or your unit rep role will be deleted and you'll have to, again, re-request that role come that February due date.
Right. So again, just kind of building on that, Jeff. So if you lapse, right, if your access lapses, you miss that deadline of February 1st, you're still going to have to take the certificate program, and then you're going to have to work with your USC to gain access again. So again, if you're an existing unit rep over the next 3 to 4 months, go through that training information, complete the final assessment, and that'll be the extent of it. There won't be any additional requesting needed. It'll just automatically happen and be there. So, and this will follow you. So if you're familiar with the journal voucher process, right? So that again is a system where you have to complete some basic training before gaining access to process journal vouchers in Banner. So this will be following that same format that you'll have to gain that access. Once you have it, if you change organizations within the university system, you will always have it. So there won't be any changes or any retesting that you need to do to retain that access if you change organizations or departments. So.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep. No, just again, seeing some of the chat, just it's a one and done at this point. There's no recertification that is needed, much like the P card, T card activity that is done on an annual basis. So, yeah. All right.
And be on the lookout for more emails,
more communications.
clarifying
Absolutely.
it coming out. Yep. We're just trying
Absolutely.
to get ahead of it. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Just kind of get a little teaser. So. All right, very good. Like Jeff said, welcome to any new business managers to this event or academic financial officers. We appreciate the opportunity to share information with you. I work with university accounting and financial reporting, and bringing you today one of the reporting tools that we have within the University of Illinois system. It is free to you. It's My UI Financials. It's a quick and easy way to access the standard reports that we need to use on a monthly basis when we do that reconciliation of all that financial activity. It's timely information. Everything that's in My UI Financials is day old, much like you would see if you were used to using Web Intelligence or Eddy or anything from our data warehouses. That information is going to be there. My UI Financials is designed to be accessible just about anywhere, right? As long as you got your VPN connection, right? You may have, at some point in time, you may have to do the two-factor authentication as well. But again, it's going to be just about anywhere you need to use it, you'll have access to it. At its core, it's making those reports easier for business officers to distribute, right? So you don't have to, again, back in the day, we were making copies and distributing. You don't have to send out email attachments. It's give them access, right? So think of this much like you would your own personal bank statement or your credit card statement, right? They give you access to their online portal. You log in and you see all the activity that's happened at your or on your credit cards. Same concept here. You log in, you see all the activity that has been charged to your FOPL strings. Who is this created for? Could be anybody within your in your department, within your college. Most of the people that use it are within that business office, but we have principal investigators using it because of that requirement that says, hey, every month I need you to verify that these expenses charged to your grant are in fact accurate, right? We have other people within the business office or faculty using it, again, to sign off on these are the accurate hours, right, charged to my student employees, right? We see that personal detail in there so they can verify the information. Here's an example of what your dashboard might look like if you were maybe a principal investigator, or you're working with them. Maybe you're a grant coordinator in your area. So they open up their dashboard, they see the 5 or 6 grants that they are responsible for managing. Right? So they see the details about what the balance is. One thing that's nice about this is if you're working with grants, it does provide that inception to date, ITD. So you're seeing the whole life of the grant. Right, so here's that budget for the grant itself, and then what's been spent in this expenses column for the entire life, for 2 years, 5 years, whatever that is, and then again that budget balance available. You can drill down to see more details, right? Or you can use the view details, or excuse me, do the report list to see, again, a list of all the standard reports that are easily accessible right here from the dashboard. If you're, again, maybe you're a business manager, right? Or you have several different departments that you're responsible for. Again, you'll see all of those. It's all just based on your access, your user profile, if you will, that is established within MyUI Financials. If you're at the college level, again, you could end up with thousands of rows of data. Okay, but with these handy filters, you can narrow that down if you want to focus on a specific department within your college to access this information. One of the things about MyUI Financials is it's about speed and space, right? So you're not going to see a bunch of rows of information that are just blank with zeros. So if there's no activity, if there's not a budget, right? If there's no expenses or no revenue for those different activities, we're not going to fill up the dashboard with zeros. We're just going to leave it blank. And we're not even going to display that information. So that it does come back in a very quick and timely manner. So again, MyUI Financials truly is designed for you, essentially available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But like our other reporting tools, this information is updated on a nightly basis. So if you are an early riser between those hours of maybe 4 and 6 a.m., if you're trying to access MyUI Financials, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait. During that time period is generally when that data is updated from Banner's activity the day before and brought forward again into the tables for MyUI Financials. So again, just a quick look at the dashboard. We have a tab here for the all funds, where this is just going to display all of those expenses. Again, lots of different filters that you can use to help access the data if you need to do so. One of the things that's nice about this, if you do have lots and lots of data, you can quickly export this information to Excel. Right, so we have these nice convenient buttons here to export that to Excel or CSV. But the main point of this particular slide is to show you the standard reports that are going to be available to you. Point and click is what MyUI Financials is about there. Point and click your way to get these different reports and present that information. You can drill down into more detail, right? So like in Banner, we can start at a very high level and drill down to where we see the fund, org, and program code, budget balance available, but now we're seeing the transactions that make up the expenses, right? In this case, that were recorded against this particular account code. Okay. If you're working with self-supporting funds, right, we have a special tab for self-supporting or service plan funds because they are somewhat unique to the other funding sources, right? They truly generate revenue. They are their standalone businesses. So with those, we have, again, a special tab specifically for self-supporting and service plan tabs, where we'll see this information.
Jason, you're muted.
I inadvertently got muted in that process. Sorry, thank you. So again, we have this self-supporting tab and service plan tab, specifically for those funds, self-supporting and service plan funds, because again, we generate revenue. They are those standalone businesses. And again, because we are focused on those unique fund codes, we're also worried about those assets and liabilities associated with those businesses. So there's also the asset liability tab or view within my UI financials and the corresponding reports that we would use again for reconciliation identification. So if you're used to using the FGI TBSR, that trial balance summary page in Banner, that's what this view is all about, right? Here's the fund balance for this particular fund right here, right? Quickly identifying, is it a good standing or bad standing, right? One of the things we tried to do was simplify it because not everybody is going to be in that business environment all the time. So we put parentheses around those things that are deficits. We're not worried about necessarily showing debit or credit balances, again, as we are in many of our Banner pages or some of our EDI reports. So we tried to make my UI financials a little bit easier to understand. One of the other components of my UI financials is another tab within the application, and it's the financial summary trends. I have a variety of different tabs within that application. If you are used to working or familiar with Tableau, that's where this data is built on that foundation or on that software. So it goes out and grabs the data via Tableau from the data warehouses and those various universes to grab that information. So again, this will look quite familiar if you work in that environment. Again, 6 tabs across the top. Because of the data and the volume of the information that's being presented, it's only updated on a weekly basis, unlike my UI financials and the all funds tabs and the self-supporting and service plan tab. Again, updated weekly and on Sunday mornings. Again, a variety of different filters to help narrow that information down into much more granular detail, as opposed to, again, maybe at the college level. Just examples of those different filters that you can filter on. Financial summaries tab. Again, you can see the different categories of the data that's going to be presented to you. It's pretty quick. I mean, I can go through and I can pull the entire university, the whole system, and bring back all this financial data organized by the funding sources, right? So categories like state, institutional, self-supporting, gift, you can see all those listed there in a matter of moments. So it does grind a lot of information and does produce those results in a pretty quick manner. Again, this is pretty high level, so we don't even mess with decimals at this stage. You can also see this detail on the next tab, which is the account type detail, right? So a little bit more granular as we go into this. But this introduces an additional categorization that is beyond our typical Banner categories, right? These aren't account types. These are budget system for operations, BSO, or Orange Book, if you're familiar. So these categories are listed here, and then how that fits into the different account types that we are in fact familiar with. So again, college financial officers, budget officers at the college level, this probably will look familiar to you. Then there's another tab for the FOP balances, another tab that brings back the transactions that support those different balances. One of the things we'll talk about is, again, just mention, it's very high level, right? So we're talking about these are the transactions that happened in September. We don't include the date. We're not worried about the day-to-day operation. This is more, again, kind of big picture component of the financial information. The last 2 tabs introduce a visualization of all of this data to help see quickly, what the performance has been over the last 5 years. So again, you can kind of quickly see the trends of this budget by fund type and kind of where the big chunks of those budgeted dollars are and what they were for the different fiscal years. Budget categories, again, where are we spending or budgeting most of our dollars? Supplies, salaries, wages, etc. Comparison of budget versus what we actually did. What did we plan for? What did we actually do? And then of the expenses that we did spend, what categories of those were they? Again, broken down into those BSO categories. Lots of resources out there. Our next webinar is scheduled for November 9th. However, if you would like, because November 9th is a month and a half away, if you'll shoot something into the chat box, just say yes in the chat box, we'll capture it later. I'll reach out to you, and if we've got enough participation, we'll get one scheduled in the next 2 weeks. So it'll be something that we can do specifically for your group. So we got seen a lot of yeses, fabulous. Glad to make that happen for you all. Again, these resources will be included at the end, but we'll get you more details about using MyUI Financials. You can always reach us at myuifinancials@uillinois.edu. And when I'm done, I'll throw that email address into the chat box as well. Okay.
Jason, you do have just a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
The first one, will you show us how to read the data for a self-supporting fund?
Sure can. We can. That's part of our webinar. And if you have questions and you just can't wait and you want to find out tomorrow, send me an email. Just reach out to me. Glad to help you take a quick look at that information, or where you can find some of our standing data and tools to find that information and understand what's being presented to you. Thanks, Jennifer. Other questions?
Yes. Can the financial summary trends be set to display only specific college and/or filters upon loading and not seeing everyone?
Yeah, you'll establish your filters based on whatever you choose, and that's free to do every single time. So, and we'll get into the webinar, but the access between MyUI Financials, the first part of it that I showed you, and the financial summary trends, their access is completely different and what is managed. So we'll get into that in our webinar as well. But let's just say that there's more access in MyUI Financials to your specific data, right? You can be very restrictive, but you can get broad access through the financial summary trends, but the details, right, aren't going to be there. So, we can certainly work through that. And I'm seeing a lot of yeses, so appreciate that. Other questions, Jennifer?
I don't see any other questions in the chat.
Okay, they probably got hidden by all the other yeses, right? All right, thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Jason. We will now hear from Stacy Bomas from the Office of Business Services System Policy Office with some business and financial policy updates.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I apologize, I'm not on video, but I'm also recording, and I don't trust myself with Zoom to not mess something up. So next time I'll be on video. This shouldn't take very long. I just wanted to give you a couple of policy office changes, our updated policies, give you an update on the annual review process for all of our policies. We're doing that a little bit differently this year, and then just where to go for questions and resources. So we have a new person in the office. I think you've all probably worked with Brian Zump, who's amazing and still with the office. He's not going anywhere. But we have hired Zach Langheim, who is based out of Urbana. He joined us about a month or so ago, and he comes to us with 7 years experience working in a business office in a unit. He was at our Division of Intercollegiate Athletics, and then he was at our Department of Anthropology. So he's bringing a lot of really good insight into, the unit side of policy. He can put on his unit hat and say, does this make sense? Would I be able to do what they're asking me to do in policy in any effective way? And so he's already hit the ground running and brought really good ideas and really good insight to our office. So we're very excited to have him. So just moving along. These are just a couple of updated policies. For 8.6.1, we removed petty cash purchases less than $100 from the TEM and Chrome River allowable payments list. This is tied into the decommissioning of section 10.5 on Bursar petty cash funds and its sub policies, because petty cash isn't really being used as much anymore. And then we added some additional information on trying to find the line between what is a facility use agreement and what is a technical testing agreement. And just it gave you a little bit more information on what those two are. So that's a new policy we've created. And then finally, policy 18.12, we just added the charter establishing the University of Illinois. For the annual review, we are embarking on our annual review of all of the policies in the manual and all of the sub policies and the sub policies. We're going to be working with subject matter experts in the offices like Jason's office, Aaron's office, you pay purchasing, any office you can think of, we'll be working with as the subject matter experts going through this. And we're going to be dividing the policies up into blocks rather than just sort of saying, hey, tell us what needs to be updated, because we know how insanely busy everybody at the university is, everyone attending this call is. So we're trying to be more strategic about it and sort of identify 3 or 4 policies that we can work through. And yeah, Bernadette, if you want to move to the next slide, that would be helpful. Thank you. And so we're going to chunk them out. And so we'll sort of pick, 3 policies, and it's not 1, 2, and 3. It could be 1 and 12 and 21. And so we are going to do a phased rollout, or sorry, a phased approach to this. So prior to our meeting with the subject matter experts, we in the policy office are going to look through and see if there are any potential updates needed. Are there old names because somebody is retired? Is the language kind of clunky? Have we heard of new legislation that we wanted to flag for when we talk to the subject matter experts? And then we will meet with those experts to go through all of the policies and sub-policies under the first group that we've identified, or the ones that their office has interaction with. And we will, identify what needs to be updated, what needs to be changed, what needs to be streamlined, you name it. And then once we kind of all agree on what that is and what that looks like, then the policy office will go back and we'll make some of the language changes, and we will send that to the subject matter experts for their takes. If they have already taken a whack at the language updates, that's totally fine too. And then we will also share it with the newly formed policy advisory group. And I've seen some names I recognize in this audience. They are made up of unit business officers from all 3 universities and the system. And they are kind of the eyes, ears, and mouth for units. And they can say, this, if we update it this way, it's going to be really difficult to engage. If you want me to tell a faculty member that's going to be difficult, and just everything in between. And so we'll share that with them and get their feedback, and then we'll just kind of keep following those steps until we get something that we like. If there are significant changes, or if there are significant changes, we would send it out for comment. If it's very minor changes, such as making an update to a name or something, we probably wouldn't. And then, we would send it out for open comment. We would take back those comments, go through the process again. And then once we get a draft that everybody likes with language that everybody is comfortable with, then we will draft a communication to go through the OBFS news service to announce the change. And then we'll send that communication out and post the policy to the website. I will say, if there are going to be any significant changes that are really changing how things used to be done under the former policy, we would probably hold off on publishing those until subject matter experts had an opportunity to come to a meeting like this, where they can explain, here's the policy, here's what we're changing, here's why we need to change it, and being available to answer any questions, or if you have any scenarios that are common for your office, that you can ask those questions then. And then, we would publish it, but we wouldn't, make a major change without giving you the opportunity to ask questions before that. So that's sort of the new process. I think it's probably more interesting to me than it is to you, but I just wanted everyone to be aware. And then if we just want to move on to the next slide. This is just questions and resources. My name's Stacey Balmas. I'm the Senior Assistant Director. I took over after Dana Libro, I think in March or April, and Dana did a magnificent job with this prior to me. So I was able to step in really easily. And then Brian, who worked with Dana and is working with me. And I think if any of you have had the pleasure of working with him, he's fantastic. And then Zach, who I spoke about earlier, who has just joined us, but is already proving himself to be a remarkable asset. So if you ever have any questions about any policies, if you see something that needs to be updated, if you have a question about why something's written the way it is, anything like that, feel free to reach out to any of us, and that's our contact information. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for those updates, Stacy. We will now take a short 5-minute break, and if you would all please be back online at 1:46.